Hi, this is the first video I have done in, it's got to be about 5-6 weeks, something like that. I'm not going to get up and show you my belly because I'm not pregnant anymore. I have given birth over 4 weeks ago, just over 4 weeks ago, to a gorgeous baby boy called Teddy James Orlando Stannard. I'm very, very proud. So it's very different nowadays. Nowadays I'm surrounded by dummies, bottles, books, baby books as well. Started reading to him even though he's little, but why not? And also we are in the middle of a pandemic. So COVID-19, I've been in isolation for probably over 6 weeks now, I think, because we had a lockdown late March, which meant we all had to stay inside effectively, apart from go out for travel or go out for daily exercise. And that is pretty much my life nowadays. So do excuse the hair, the roots, the haircut that I've done myself as well. You can probably hear in the background a chair whizzing away. I've currently got Teddy in his Mummaroo chair, which are amazing for giving you a couple of minutes to yourself. But I wanted to do a video just to tell my birth story. Now I know everybody's is different, and I'm not doing this for any effect, any reason to try and scare people, because, you know, the truth is that no matter what your experience is, at the end you've got to remember, you've got to focus on the fact that you've produced an amazing miracle child. So for me, that is pretty much all that I focused on, pretty much. And the other thing to mention is that throughout my pregnancy, the final parts of my pregnancy as well, and throughout the actual giving birth as well, and partially afterwards, I was filming for ITV for a documentary for them called A Very British Lockdown. So that's already been on TV as well. So all very exciting, all very action packed. But talking about my birth, he was due on the 29th of March. I thought magically that babies just appeared on their due date for some reason. How wrong I was. But I was expecting him then. I did everything to kind of bring him on. I was eating spicy things, drinking pineapple juice, all the old wives' tale, bouncing up and down on a ball, going for walks, going up and down stairs. Everything I could do to try and make him appear magically on time. Now that didn't happen. So on the Wednesday, I went for what's called a sweep, basically performed by the midwife. Again, very weird because they're all in these sort of masks and everything, these aprons. And basically the sweep is to try and induce birth, but more naturally, just by the midwife kind of feeling around up there, essentially. So that was on the Wednesday. Now, one of the questions they asked me was, how are you feeling movement's going? And a lot of babies kind of slow down towards the end because there's nowhere really to go, there's not much room. And I did feel that he had sort of reduced movement. So they do get very worried about that, and they're very cautious about it, understandably, especially if your baby is late. So ended up going into hospital. The hospital then recommended that actually I come in to be induced. Now, it wasn't in my birth plan, it was not something that I wanted to do at all, but I had to go with what's medically best for the baby. You know, you can't think of yourself in these situations. So there I was, Wednesday night, getting dropped off by James, because in the middle of all this coronavirus, the men aren't allowed into the birth ward until you're in active labour. That's what it's called. So Wednesday night, I went into the ward. I had a pessary, which is more or less like a tampon that's got all chemicals in it that's meant to induce your birth. I had that done, and Wednesday night, nothing apart from a few pains. So I had some pain relief. You can hear Ted's actually. I'm gonna go and get him. He wants to be on camera. I think that's what it is. That's what it is, Teddy, isn't it? Do you want to be on camera? Say hi to everybody. So, on the Wednesday, he makes piggy noises, by the way, when he wants to feed as well. There he is. He's a lot happier now. I should probably get his muslin as well, but let's go and get it now, actually. Let's get it. Come on, Ted. Let's get the muslin. Makes it all more real, doesn't it? So on the Wednesday, I had the pessary, had some pain relief, but to be honest with you, it kind of, nothing really happened. He makes chicken noises, by the way, as well, when he feeds. Nothing really happened until Thursday morning, and obviously all the wards, they're 2 meters apart because of social distancing with the beds, so there's no one to talk to. Could only speak to James on the phone, can't have any visitors because of COVID-19. So then on the Thursday morning, I had a bath in the ward to try and calm my pains down. The machine wasn't picking up any contractions, so they thought, you know, nothing's happening. But I kind of had this feeling, not that I've had a baby before, but the pain was quite severe. So I was thinking, you know what, actually I can feel something sort of happening. So on that Thursday morning, I called the midwife and I said, yeah, definitely something happening. No, there's not. There doesn't show up any contractions on the machine. I was like, there's definitely something happening. So I'd called James and just said, look, come and wait in the car park or whatever. It doesn't matter. Because, you know what, I would rather just have you waiting here so that you don't miss the birth, because there'd been fathers missing the birth because they don't drive or they haven't been warned on time. Lucky I did call him, because they examined me and found out I was 9 centimetres dilated without any pain relief. Yeah, it was interesting. So then we went down, got into the room finally, went into the wrong room first of all, finally went into the hydro pool room. She was, while I was on the bed, the midwife was running the bath, which is huge, and you've got to get it to the right temperature for the baby. So I got in there, didn't realise how hot it was, sweltering. And because I'd had reduced movements, I had to have monitors strapped to me all the time in the hydro pool. So they found out that they weren't working properly, so they weren't charged properly, and I kept having to stand up mid-labour, which is not fun. James got there, happy days. I then had gas and air, and I was asking for more pain relief because it didn't seem to be providing anything for me. I then found out that there was actually a leak in the gas and air. This was really getting towards the end of my labour by that point, so I again had no pain relief. I then got asked to walk over to the table. So again, I'm kind of like mid, you know, giving birth, walking over to the table to lay down on there. And there, again, no pain relief. I was just told, look, you've got to breathe him out. So easier said than done, right? So there I was trying, and apparently his head kept nearly coming down. He's smiling. And then he kept going back up. So I was thinking, no. And I just thought, you know, you hear all these stories about the ring of fire and everything. Yeah, that definitely exists. But I pushed through it because I was at that point. I'd had an hour and a half sleep the night before. And I just thought to myself, I've got to get through this, because there's no other way, is there, essentially? You've just got to do it. And that was the thing, that I was just in my head all the time. Look, let's, you know, come on, it's all about him, bless him. And we just had to get through it, essentially. So finally he arrived safely. She hooked his little underarms, got him out. He went onto the little bit the babies go onto to sort of warm them up and check them out and make sure they're okay. Then he went to Dad because I needed to birth the placenta. I didn't even know about this. I thought it was like relatively pain-free and it was fine. Well, my placenta was not, because it was very stubborn, wouldn't come out. They have an hour to get it out. Well, mine did not come out. So she said, you've lost a lot of blood as well, between 1.7 and 1.8 litres. She goes, I'm going to have to press this button to get everyone in, to get the doctors in. So I was like, oh, right. She said, don't be alarmed. So there they were. The doctors all came in. Sort of sorted me out, stitched me up, got the placenta out, so we thought. Anyway, that was kind of that. Then, just a few hours later, I was in immense pain, and I had still lots and lots of blood. And it turned out there was still some placenta left in there. So I was put on, I don't know what kind of painkillers, but there was James, there was little baby Teddy, there I was on not much sleep, on painkillers. And they said, you know, you've got to go into theatre now, we're going to give you an epidural, so while you're awake we're going to be operating on you, which is like not nice to think of either. It's one of my sort of fears. I don't like being awake, I'd rather be asleep. So they were reading all this stuff, and it's really horrible because it's an emotional time anyway, and they were kind of saying, look, these are the risks, we might have to remove your womb, we might have to do this and that. And at that point I couldn't even sign for some reason. Like I said, I think it was to do with the painkillers. So James had to sign on my behalf, I believe. And I really did think at that point, I could die here. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it's because they just didn't seem to know what was wrong, and everything seemed to be going wrong. So I remember just like tears falling down my face, and for some reason, again, I couldn't really speak as much as I wanted to. It was like a real effort to talk. So I just wanted to tell James and tell Teddy that I love them. So I remember looking, and the doctor was crying at this point, James was crying at this point, and I managed to just get that out because I thought I might never see them again. But if I never saw them again, I still thought to myself, do you know what, I've done the best thing ever in the world of literally bringing this little life into the world. So everything kind of changes, I think, when you're a mum and your priorities. So yeah, it was a really hard one. I went into theatre, then had the operation, and basically in theatre, you're not very happy, are you, listening to this story? In theatre, they stitched me up, they managed to find the piece of placenta that was missing, and then that was more or less, you know, it done. Having said that, all the drama was sort of over at that point. But of course, with COVID-19 again, James was not allowed with me. He was allowed with the baby, which isn't always the case, so we were glad of that. And when he got into the recovery ward, he was allowed with me for a few hours, which was great because my legs were not working after the operation. So obviously I needed all the help I could with feeding little man here and looking after him. But that's kind of my birth story, but I would do it all again in a heartbeat, as dramatic as it was, because like I said, look at him, he's just absolutely gorgeous, isn't he? Bless him, and he's putting on lots of weight and he's doing very well. So I kind of just wanted to touch base by setting this little video up, and I'm sorry it's so long, but it is the whole birth story. But if you are a mum giving birth in COVID-19, if you know of somebody, if you're a partner to somebody giving birth, all I have to say is you are going to look back on this and think, what an incredible journey. How you've done something at one of the hardest times. You know, a pandemic comes, they reckon, once a century. And it's just something to be really proud of, and I certainly am going to be telling him the story when he's older and showing him this video as well, of him, just to embarrass him a little bit. But yeah, so that is my birth story, and I am going to try and put some more videos up that are shorter than this one of how we're doing. But yeah, I hope everyone's really well out there. Let's try and turn it off without upsetting